first week of fall. Oh my gosh, I just absolutely love the fall season so much. I love the temperature, I love the colors of the trees, I love all of the treats and the holidays, and I could go on and on and on about how much I love fall. One thing I absolutely love in the fall time is a good mystery. So buckle up because we are going to be talking about all of the Christian fiction mystery books that I have collected this year that you might want to read this fall. Hello book lover, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kay if you're new here, and as I said before, we're talking about Christian fiction mystery books. As most of you guys know, I started my Christian fiction reading journey just this year back in June. Since June, I have sold and gotten rid of a ton of books, and I've also collected a couple few little bit of books. Can you tell I'm lying? Okay. Anyway, so we're going to be going over my Christian mystery shelf. This shelf is actually one of my smaller collection of books just because I'm still working on figuring out what I like in the mystery fiction genre. I really like psychological type of thrillers where I can't guess the ending. I like clean murder mysteries, so I feel like a lot of Agatha Christie, like the murders aren't graphic in her books. But this is my first time really diving into the Christian fiction mysteries. I haven't even read one yet, but there's a couple that I plan on reading this upcoming month, and just some more that I want to show you. We've got a lot of Colleen Coble and a lot of Jaime Jo Wright because both of them have been two of the most recommended Christian fiction mystery authors. And then I have a handful of several other authors, and yeah, so let's just get into it. So I'm just gonna go down my shelf in the order that they're in. This is literally in no order at all, in no particular order. But first is Beth Moore's book, The Undoing of Saint Silvanus. So I had so many people comment on my haul video several weeks ago asking, is this the Beth Moore? Well, this is the picture. This is the Beth Moore that wrote this book. That is the lady that I have done study for the Book of Esther with, and I've done another study with her online. I haven't met her in person, but the Beth Moore, I believe this is her only fiction novel that she's written. So essentially what this is about, only God knew Gillian Slater agreed to return to New Orleans on the news that her father had finally drunk himself to death. It's not likely they were close. She hadn't seen him or her grandmother, the Ice Queen, in almost 20 years. But when Adela Atwater, the manager of her grandmother's apartment house, called and said her expenses would be paid if she'd fly in for the burial, a free trip to New Orleans was too intriguing to resist. What Adela didn't tell her was that the apartment house wasn't a house at all, and whatever it was bore the dead weight of a long and painful history. So that's all I'm really going to say. She basically moves into this house that she's taking over, and there are some odd things being left on her doorstep, and it's just a mystery that she's trying to figure out what the heck this place was. So that is The Undoing of Saint Silvanus. Next one is a historical mystery, and that is Veiled in Smoke. Now I believe this one has to do with the fires that happened in Chicago. I have had several friends here on BookTube have read this and say that they absolutely loved this book. So this one says, the flames took so much, she can't lose her father as well. Meg Townsend and her sister Sylvie seek a quiet existence managing the family bookshop. Meg feels responsible for caring for their father, Stephen, whose spirit and health are both damaged from his time as a prisoner during the Civil War. Her one escape is the paintings she creates and sells in the bookshop. Now, doesn't that just like sound super cozy, other than being a prisoner during the Civil War? Then the Great Fire sweeps through Chicago's business district. The fiery explosions and chaos stir up memories of war for Stephen as he runs from the blaze and becomes separated from his daughters. Days later, when the smoke has cleared, Meg and Sylvie manage to reunite with him. Their home and shop are lost, and what's left among the ashes may be even more threatening than the flames, for they learned that a close friend was murdered the night of the fire, and Stephen has been charged with the crime. After he is committed to the Cook County Insane Asylum, where they cannot visit him, Stephen feels as lost to them as the shop that now lies in rubbles. Though homeless and suddenly unemployed, Meg must not gather the pieces of her shattered life, but prove the truth of what happened that night before the asylum truly drives her father mad. So, we got a murder mystery here. We got a lot going on. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. Next, we have Secondary Target by Angela Carlisle. It says The Secrets of Kincaid, so I believe this is a series. I believe this one has some mystery suspense romance in it, which I've never read a mystery with romance in it before, but it seems like that's a huge thing in the Christian fiction world, so I'm really interested and intrigued to see what that is really like. So this one is A Ruthless Murderer, A Deadly Secret, and Unbreakable Love. After the brutal murder of her mother and brother 12 years ago, Karina Roberts built a new life in Kentucky. But when strange things begin to happen, she is thrust into a perilous game of life and death. With nowhere else to turn, her best hope of survival depends on her ex-boyfriend, Army veteran Bryce Jessup. Recently turned from service, Bryce has every intention of staying away from Karina. But when threats close in around her, he isn't willing to leave her safety to chance. Oh, it's kind of like giving bodyguard trope a little bit, which I love bodyguard trope. As their search for answers uncovers lethal secrets her detective father kept hidden. Ooh, we got some tea right there. Bryce and Karina must untangle the mystery of the merciless killer's intent on terrorizing and eliminating Karina's family before it is too late. All right, Angela, that sounds like a lot of drama and tea, and I'm here for it. Next we have Never Fall Again by Lynn H. Blackburn. Honestly, I cannot remember what this one was about. It says, Landry Hutton has spent 3 years rebuilding her life behind the secure gates of The Haven, the exclusive resort on the outskirts of Gossamer Falls, North Carolina. After serving as the artist in residence, Landry is finally ready to settle in permanently to give her daughter Eliza a safe home in which to grow up. Former Marine Callum Shaw, alright, so we got more mystery, suspense, romance going on here. Former Marine Callum Shaw always knew he would someday join his family's construction business in Gossamer Falls. He longs for a family of his own, but he's almost given up on that ever happening. The beautiful artist who has hired him to build her new house is funny, gifted, and everything Cal could ever want in a partner, but he vows to keep his distance. He's loved and lost someone like her before. When Landry's pottery is destroyed in a suspicious fire, it becomes clear that Landry and Eliza are in grave danger. But from whom? Cal will have to risk his heart again if he has any hope of protecting them. Dun dun dun. So we got some arson going on here, destroying her beautiful artwork. Definitely gonna have to check that one out soon. I have 4 Colleen Coble books to talk with you about. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm refilming this portion of the video talking about her books because the file ended up being corrupt and I lost everything. Earlier, when I was reading through what these were about, I realized that Colleen Coble seems to have a thing for dead husbands. It's like 3 out of these 4 books have a husband that has passed away, which is really sad. And they're also kind of romantic suspense. So, with that being said, my hope with Colleen Coble is that she has given these characters and widows the proper time to grieve before throwing them into a romantic situation, and I'm just hoping that she handles that delicately within her books. So I just wanted to make that note because it's something that I mentioned earlier when I was filming and I lost it. But anyway, let's get into it. The first one that I absolutely definitely want to read this fall is I Think I Was Murdered. So this book is so interesting to me because we obviously live in this world with AI now and people can just access things like ChatGPT on their phones, and this book is intriguing to me because this woman, she loses her husband. And she trains something like ChatGPT essentially to respond to her as her husband would have responded. And so she has this conversation with the chatbot, and it's talking to her pretending it's her husband, and she says, "Tell me something I don't know," and the chatbot responds with, "I think I was murdered." So that whole premise just has me very intrigued and interested to know where this storyline is going to go, but also I'm interested to see how the author handles it with AI, because people are using AI as a way to converse as a friend and communicate as a loved one, or people are turning to AI instead of the Lord, or people are turning to communicate with AI instead of getting proper therapy. So I'm really interested to see how the author handles that whole concept with a grieving widow. The next book is The Edge of Dusk by Colleen Coble. Now this one is a trilogy. I don't know if anything else is going to be coming out in the series, but this follows a girl whose younger sister was kidnapped when they were younger, and she's pretty much never forgiven herself for the night that things went wrong and her sister went missing. This book is 24 years later, and she is now working in law enforcement. Her husband and her parents passed away in a boating accident, and she ended up inheriting a resort marina type thing, and a dead body is found there. So this is the story surrounding what happened there. Her first love shows back up, and he was in the past linked to some kind of suspicious cold case. And yeah, this is the story about that murder, about her grieving her husband, and I'm assuming possibly finding love again through her old first love. The next book is Fragile Designs. Now this one was super highly recommended by other people on BookTube, and so I was just really interested in what it is about. So this one says, there's only one thing more dangerous than family secrets. Since her police officer husband Eric's mysterious murder, Carly Harris has been struggling to support herself and their infant son, which is so heartbreaking to me as somebody who has a toddler boy. Her career as an antique dealer isn't sustainable, nor is her dream of becoming a novelist. So when her grandmother proposes she and her two sisters restore the family's large Beaufort home and turn it into a bed and breakfast, she immediately gets to work clearing out the house. In the process, she uncovers a family secret that Eric kept hidden in an heirloom that the wrong person wouldn't hesitate to kill for. And then we get into homicide detective Lucas Bennett isn't his neighbor's biggest fan, not since she broke his brother's heart years ago. But when Carly turns to Lucas for help, believing she's found a lost, I cannot pronounce this word, so I'll put it on the screen, a lost Faberge egg that would be worth millions, and that could put her family's lives in danger, he can't help but get involved. Soon they're entangled in a mystery with threads that lead all the way to the Russian mafia. So I'm just going to stop there. Obviously, we've got a lot going on. We've got a multi-million-dollar heirloom found that might lead to the Russian mafia. And this is the last one I want to show you by Colleen Coble. This one is very fall to me. The cover, if you can see that, it's on a college campus and there are leaves falling on the ground, the trees are changing, so obviously this is very much a fall book. Family secrets, historical wrongs, and the truths that refuse to stay buried. Savannah Webster is trying to find her way forward. She and her husband Hez have been separated since tragedy tore them apart and began numbing his grief and guilt with alcohol. She returned to Tupelo Grove University, which her family helped found over a century ago to teach history. When Hez turns up in her classroom asking for a second chance, she rejects the idea immediately. But 24 hours later, she's under suspicion for murder, and since Hez is the best attorney she knows, she reluctantly asks him for help. They suspect the murder is tied to something selling off the university's pre-Columbian artifacts, but the secrets go much deeper than they realize. The only hope they've got is each other, and they're going to have to put their past behind them if they're going to stay alive long enough to uncover all that's hidden. So I'm really hoping this is a story where their marriage comes back together, because the other 3 books by Colleen Coble that I just talked about all had husbands that have tragically passed away. So I'm hoping this one is a story of redemption of their marriage, but also I think the whole her husband having to help her as a lawyer, I think is a really interesting concept, and my hope is that the husband has, that he doesn't turn her down when she asks for help, and that they just really get healing through this. So this is one I for sure want to try to read this fall, just because it's a very fall aesthetic cover. Now we're going to be moving on to Miss Jaime Jo Wright. So I have 4 different books by her, and what I have loved that I've heard about Jaime Jo Wright is that she typically writes dual timeline mysteries. So there's a timeline that usually takes place in like the early 1900s and one that's more modern day, and somehow these 2 mysteries and these 2 timelines connect. I personally love mysteries with dual timelines, so I'm really excited about that. But what I've also heard is that she has a lot of really ghosty and eerie type of feels to her story. However, it is never left up to just being some ghost. She always gives an explanation for the ghosty type of vibes that are going on in the story, which I personally appreciate, because I'm not somebody that likes ghosts or scary movies or anything that has to do with anything demonic or spiritual on the dark side. I definitely do not want to read about. So I'm really interested to see how she goes about her storytelling and redeeming it in a Christian light. The first one is one that I'm for sure going to be reading this fall, and that is Night Falls on Predicament Avenue. So I will be reading this book as a buddy read, actually, with Amanda Book Lover. I'll link Amanda's YouTube in the description, because I just absolutely adore her. Her personality is hilarious. She is so sweet. I've gotten to talk to her over the past couple months, and she has been such a huge support system for me as somebody that has been exploring Christian fiction, and I've gotten so many recommendations from her that I have already loved and appreciated. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this book with her this fall. This one says, as the walls of the house at Predicament Avenue reveal their hidden truths, 2 women, generations apart, discover that fear and foreboding are no respecters of time. Ooh, the intrigue there. Looks like I'll only be able to read the first paragraph because there is a sticker over the second paragraph, which I should have removed before this video, but it's fine. In 1910, Effie James is committed to doing anything to save her younger sister who witnessed a shocking murder, leaving her mute and in danger of the killer's retribution. Effie must prove what her sister saw, but when a British gentleman arrives, he disrupts Effie's quests with his attempts to locate his wife, Isabel Addington, who was last seen at the supposed crime scene in the abandoned house of 322 Predicament Avenue. Just as Effie discovers what she seeks, she finds that the blood staining the walls will forever link her to a scandal she couldn't imagine, and to a woman whose secrets promise to curse any who expose them. And I can read like the first sentence of the next one. A century later, Nora Richmond grapples with social anxiety and grief as she runs her great-aunt's bed and breakfast on Predicament Avenue. But Nora has little affection for the house and is committed only to carrying out her murdered sister's dreams until crime historian and podcaster Something Blaine arrives to investigate the ghostly legacy. We got some ghosty stuff going on, and we might have 2 romantic timelines maybe? No, because the one is married. But anyway, so that is Night Falls on Predicament Avenue. The next one I'm interested to read this fall, only because when I think of fall time, I also think of the theater, and this is The Lost Boys of Barlow Theater. I love this cover so much. So this one says, it promises beauty but steals life instead. Will the ghosts of Barlow Theater entomb them all? Barlow Theater stole the life of Greta Mercy's eldest brother during its construction. Now in 1915, the completed theater appears every bit as deadly. When Greta's younger brother goes missing after breaking into the building, Greta engages the assistance of a local police officer to help her unveil the already ghostly secrets of the theater. But when help comes from an unlikely source, Greta decides that to save her family, she must uncover the evil that haunts the theater and put its threat to rest. Decades later, Kit Boyd's best friend vanishes during a ghost walk at the Barlow Theater, and old stories of mysterious disappearances and ghoulish happenings are revived. We've got the mystery of Greta's brother dying, and then we have the mystery of Kit's best friend going missing during a ghost tour. So very spooky, very fall vibes. This is the other Jaime Jo I would like to try to read this fall. Next, we have On the Cliffs of Foxglove Manor. Now, Foxes are my favorite animal. I think they are so cute and adorable. I know they are probably not nice. Like, I know that. But whenever I see something that says fox, I always link foxes with the fall time too. And look, speaking of foxes, check out my sweater. It's got these little foxes on it. I had to buy it because I just adore foxes so much, and it's perfect for the fall. Foxglove Manor. Foxglove Manor would twist its way into your soul until one day it owned you, and it called to you, and it didn't cease haunting you until you came back. Whoa! What a sentence. Is that like the first sentence of this book? I would have to check out. What's the first sentence of this book? He had ruined death for her and the hope of it. Whoa, okay. I kind of don't want to read the rest of the back of this one because it's one that I think I want to go into blind just based off of those two sentences. I hope you guys don't mind. If you guys want to know what this one is about, definitely look on Goodreads. Yeah, this sounds like one I don't want to know anything about because both of those, like that first sentence and that sentence on the back, super intriguing to me. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Next one we have is Spectres in the Glass House. Again, Miss Jaime Joooo Wright. This cover is also stunning. This one says, an ominous butterfly house, a sinister legacy, an untraceable killer. In 1921, Marianne Arnold, the heiress to a brewing baron's empire, seeks solace in the glass butterfly house on her family's Wisconsin estate as prohibition and the deaths of her parents cast a long shadow over her shrinking world. When Marianne's sanctuary is invaded by nightmarish visions, she grapples with the line between hallucinations of things to come and malevolent forces at play in the present. With dead butterflies as the killer's ominous signature, murders unfold at a steady pace. Marianne, fearful she might be next, enlists the help of her childhood friend Felix, a war veteran with his own haunted past. In the present day, researcher Remy Shaw becomes entangled in the elderly biographer's quest to uncover the truth behind Marianne Arnold's mysterious life and the unsolved murders linked to an infamous serial killer. Joined by Marianne's great-great-grandson, can Remy expose the evil that lurks beneath broken wings? Or will the dark legacy surrounding the manor and its glass house destroy yet another generation? Spectres in the Glass House. So that is all we have for Miss Jaime Joooo, and now we're going to move on to the last few remaining that I have just by other authors. All right, y'all, we got 3 more books, okay? And this one up first is one I definitely plan to get to very soon, and that is The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House by Joanna Davidson Politano. And this one says, a clever young woman, a contested will, in an estate that does not easily give up its secrets. So what I know about this one is this lady gets left an estate by a mysterious estranged uncle. I'm pretty sure she never knew him, and when she shows up, the family that is there is being obviously super weird about it because she's never met this uncle, but she's being left his estate, and there are just weird circumstances surrounding his death. The people there are convinced that she has something to do with his death. So this, for some reason, if you've seen the movie Knives Out, I will say there is quite a bit of language in that movie if you are somebody who doesn't like language. I personally don't like language, but that movie is so good. This kind of is giving me those vibes because in that movie, somebody gets left a will. I won't say who in case you haven't seen it because I don't want to spoil it. But then a lot of the people start thinking that that person had something to do with the death of the wealthy man who owned the estate. So I just kind of got those vibes from that, and I'm really excited to read this one, and I'm hoping it is a super good mystery in the end with a big twist. It just reminds me so much of that storyline that I love so much, and I'm hoping I can get something similar from The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House. This just screams October fall to me. This one screams fall in general, and that is The House at the End of the Moor by Michelle Gripe. Now look at this. We got fog. We've got what? I don't know. It just looks like fall to me. So she's on the run from her past. He's on the run from the law, but no one can run forever. All her life, Maggie Lee has defied the odds, rising from poverty to become one of Victorian England's most accomplished opera singers. But fame opens the door to demons she never expected to face. Forsaking the limelight, she flees to the rugged countryside of Dartmoor, where she can live in quiet anonymity. She wants to live anonymously. All that changes the day she discovers a half-dead man lying on the floor. Convict Oliver Ward escapes the infamous Dartmoor prison barely. Wounded, he is taken in by a mysterious woman who's as much an enigma as himself. It's only a matter of time before authorities find him, but how will he be able to prove his innocence? In a world of vice and deception, Oliver and Maggie must learn to trust each other and God. Y'all, all of these books I'm just super intrigued by, but that sounds very interesting. Last, but certainly not least, we have Of Gold and Shadows by Michelle Gripe. This is book 1 in Time's Lost Treasures. Now, one thing I saw on Goodreads when I looked this up, because I believe that I bought this one while I was at a book festival in July, and I think somebody said tarot cards were somehow involved in this. Now, I'm gonna play that by ear, whether I'm comfortable reading this or not, but she is a Christian author. I think she's gotten Christie Awards, if I'm not totally mistaken. This is published by Bethany House, so I'm sure it's nothing crazy. Or maybe it was just an odd review that somebody left. Let's go ahead and read what this is about. The shadows hold secrets, darker than they ever imagined. In 1888 Victorian England, Amy Dalton navigates a clandestine dual life. By day, she strives to establish herself as a respected Egyptologist, overcoming the gender biases that permeate academia. But with a heart for saving black market artifacts from falling into the wrong hands, she is most often disguised as her alter ego, the Shadow Broker. Oh, that's like so intriguing. I love hidden identity as long as it's done in a context where it makes sense. Dear Henry, love Edith. Anyway, what? After 8 years in India, Oxford's almost eligible bachelor Edmund Price has come out of the shadows to run for Parliament and is in search of an Egyptologist to value a newly acquired collection. Expecting a renowned professor, Edmund instead finds himself entangled with Amy, the professor's determined daughter. As they delve into the treasures, their connection deepens, but when trouble emerges when a golden griffin rumored to bear the curse of Amentuk surfaces, and they're left to wonder if the curse really is at play or if something more nefarious is hiding among the shadows. So somebody quoted on this, "Don't miss all the romance, adventure, and danger in this new page turner." Jolie Klassen said that. So this is definitely going to be romance, adventure, and danger. I'll keep you guys posted about what the whole review comment somebody left talking about a tarot card. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they took it out of context, but I'll be for sure to let you know because I am really intrigued by this. That is all of the mystery books that I have collected thus far. Please let me know if there are any others you would recommend or any authors that I definitely need to look into, because I for sure plan to try to read quite a bit of mystery this fall. If you made it this far in the video, please leave me a magnifying glass emoji in the comments so I know that you stayed till the very end. Thank you again so much for your guys' just love and support on this channel. I appreciate you guys beyond belief, and I will see you next week.